Hi, I'm Melissa from SoGoSurvey. We're continuing our series on human resources forms to keep things moving for you. Right now, we're on to part 2, the screening form. Let's get started. In part 1 of our series, we talked about application forms. Now, if yours isn't already up and running and you want to pause us, we'll be right here when you get back. But you can always check out part 1 of our series as well too afterward. No worries. But what's next after you've got all those great applications coming in? We're going to call it panning for gold, making sure you can sort through to the most valuable candidates, the ones who are going to be the best fit for your role and your organization. We know that could be a lot of people. Hopefully you've got a very popular organization and lots of applications are coming in, but it's definitely a challenging part of the process to help narrow down to the right candidates. So in a good screening form, we're looking for identifying candidates who have the key qualifications. That certainly doesn't stop people from applying sometimes. People just send in a lot of applications, sometimes all over the place, and we want to make sure that we're actually connecting with the right people. Also, at a glance comparison between candidates, so you can easily see who has more experience or who's more highly rated in certain areas, or relevant education, something like that. And the ideal situation is that you're going to reduce time spent on later stages, so bringing people into the office, for example, having those one-on-one conversations, because that does take up a lot of time, and it's very valuable information when you have those one-to-one conversations, but you want to make sure it's with the right people. So that's respectful of your time, of course, and respectful of the candidates and applicants' time too. So the screening form could happen in a lot of different ways. You could send a link directly to those qualified candidates who've sent in their application forms, or you can call people if you prefer and fill out that form during a phone screening. Really useful, but it also means that you're able to share that data really quickly. So the data itself is secure within, in this case, of course, within SoGoSurvey or within your platform, and you can reshare those responses quickly as well. And so minimizes the number of people who need to be involved in the screening process itself, saving their time for later in the process. So first, couple of questions to get us through this: application form versus screening form. So very often an organization will have a standard application form on the website that works for everybody. Those are all the basics kind of things that you're looking for: education, experience, basically a resume. So screening forms are really best when they are specific to the role. So rather than just asking, what is your education? If you have a specific qualifying question about education, like do you have a degree in communications or marketing, for example, or do you have experience in sales, whatever it is that's specific to that role, it's a really, really useful practice to make sure that your screening form is specific. Different form for each position, and I've just gotten done saying that it would be nice to have screening forms that are reflecting those needs. Keep in mind though, you can also use this as, you can also set up branching. You can also set up the same form if you'd like with different logic built in. That's totally fine too. But in general, when you're thinking about these forms, think about your hiring manager, because whether it's you yourself and you're managing the entire process, or you're the HR manager working with specific hiring managers in a department, for example, really think about, what is that person looking for? What is that person going to use to decide whether to talk to this candidate at all in the first place? So those are the kinds of things that you want to make sure are reflected on that screening form specifically. So again, whether you use the same form or you set up branching or some sort of advanced logic, you can certainly set up different reports for different hiring members. You can set up filters, so you can, if you've got the same form, so you can send everyone for marketing to this person, everyone for sales to this person, for example. And you can even make sure that those managers have all of the information they need right in advance of the interview, if there's going to be an interview down the road, just so it's narrowed down to the relevant candidates and there's no confusion. So lots of good, useful information with those dynamic reports, especially because they're going to update as new qualified candidates enter the queue. So really, really important part of the hiring process, and basically every process that we talk about, of course, is follow-up, is setting expectations of what comes next. Now, first of all, it seems really silly the way I have this written here. First, have a plan. Second, share it with candidates. And third, stick to it. But this is really all there is to it. First of all, you and your team need to have a plan. What is your hiring process? How many steps are there? If you're saying to your candidate, welcome to round 27, certainly it's probably a little bit stressful for the candidate, as well as for you to manage candidates at so many stages. So make sure you have a plan and that it's clear with candidates. You might not choose to tell them every single step of your hiring process, for example, but you should probably be telling them when they can expect to hear back, for example, or when they can expect to learn if they've made it on to the next stage. It's common human decency. We know it can be really difficult to put yourself out there, as all of these candidates are doing. But we want to make sure that they're protected and supported to the greatest extent that we can offer them. Remember, you're creating an impression of your organization, of yourself, and if they do choose to join, they make it through the whole way through your process, and they're offered the opportunity, you want them to have a positive impression that this is an organization that knows what's going on, knows what to do, and follows through. Says something and means it, is able to actually follow up on those plans. And so again, the follow-up, lots of different ways to make that happen. A thank you message on the thank you page after you've, they've submitted right away. Confirmation, yes, we've got it, hooray. An automatic email, we call it, an instant thanks message. So the candidate gets the note like, yes, we've got it, thumbs up, here's the next steps. That's a really useful thing to be able to set up automatically. And finally, an instant alert, we call it rules and alerts. When that form comes in, so you know exactly when you've got, you don't have to sit there and refresh your report all day long necessarily, unless you really want to. So to be able to find out exactly what's going on, how frequently people are applying, when you should be checking them, all those kinds of things. So lots of stuff happening, and the best thing is it's all automatic. And finally, next step, we'll be moving on to the candidate quiz. So we're even able to narrow down our group a little bit more to the most qualified candidates who are able to pass your quote-unquote test. Thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. In the meantime, connect with us on social media at SoGoSurvey or visit our website, SoGoSurvey.com. See you next time.